Nobody has more respect for women than I do. Nobody.
Hillary Clinton wants to abolish it, believe me. She wants to abolish our Second Amendment.
I think they didn't deny it. I don't think anybody denied it.
Other presidents did not call. They'd write letters, and some presidents didn't do anything.
Many people have come out and said I'm right.
You really do have to ask yourself, where does it stop?
Hello and welcome to the special Merry Impeachment edition of Fallacious Trump, a podcast where we use the insane ramblings of President Queeg to explain logical fallacies. I'm your host, Jim.
And I'm your other host, Mark. A logical fallacy is an error in reasoning that results in bad or invalid arguments. And the logical fallacy we're looking at this week is the Invincible Ignorance fallacy, also known as argument by pig-headedness and argument by stubbornness.
I love the title, the name of this one, Invincible Ignorance, and it seems so great, appropriate for Trump.
Yeah, it sounds like some sort of misguided superhero, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Invincible Ignorance, standing on the mountain with a cape flowing in the background, which is getting caught in a passing wheel.
Yeah. So, there's a Catholic doctrine of invincible ignorance where people haven't heard about God and therefore they can't be held responsible for not believing in God. Vincible ignorance in the Catholic doctrine is where they have heard about God and therefore should obviously believe, and if they don't, it's their own fault. Right. This is a separate thing. It has the same name, but this is a logical fallacy, and it is basically where someone refuses to learn despite being told and given evidence and being presented with the facts. They just simply stubbornly decide that they're right and what they believed is what they're going to continue to believe, which again describes Trump pretty well.
Exactly. You're not telling me that this wasn't made up especially for Trump, because it is just exactly what he does, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there was an embarrassment of riches for possible examples here. Including basically most of his reactions to things about trade deals and just all kinds of things. Basically anything that anyone ever tries to tell him that isn't exactly what he already thinks, he refuses to listen. So our first example is actually from a 2015 radio interview with Hugh Hewitt, and he's talking about climate change.
You look at, our energy costs and all of the things that we're doing to solve a problem that I don't think in any major fashion exists. I mean, Obama thinks it's the number one problem of the world today, and I think it's very low on the list. So I am not a believer, and I will, unless somebody can prove something to me, I believe there's weather, I believe there's change, and I believe it goes up, and it goes down, and it goes up again. And it changes depending on years and centuries. But I am not a believer, and we have much bigger problems.
So he believes there's weather. That's a start.
Yeah, well, that's good. Yeah. When I look out the window, there's stuff going on.
There is weather.
Yeah, and it changes. Sometimes it's raining, sometimes it isn't. But then he says, unless someone can prove it to me, and you think, well, they're not going to be able to. That isn't a kind of get out, is it? That's just no one is going to be able to prove it to him.
No, and that's the key phrase in this, really, was that there is the proof is there. The proof has been presented and has been shown to him and has been shown to everyone again and again and has been made as clear as people can make it. And if you listen to all of that, I mean, I'm not saying he has listened to all of it, but if you pay any attention at all and you still don't believe, but say, if people can prove to me that it's happening, then that's essentially you are saying, I don't believe all of the proof I've already been shown. So with no reason, with no kind of backup or counter arguments or anything like that. And that's kind of the key. This is a version, in a way, of a fallacy called argumentum ad lapidem, which is argument to the stone, where essentially you just dismiss other arguments as being absurd without any other argument to it at all. In a way, this is even, there's less reasoning here because you're just dismissing it because you refuse to accept it. You don't even claim that it's absurd. You just don't listen. You don't.
There's not even a because. There's not even I'm not going to hear what you're saying because. And there's no reason given. It's a bit like what we've discovered in reading Fear Trump in the White House. at some point he baldly states, "These are my beliefs. I've had them for decades. I'm not going to change my mind." He doesn't explain or investigate, or even, should that even be possible to be saying in the same sentence, be self-reflective, Mr. Trump, about, well, I wonder where those beliefs came from, and should I question them? And perhaps it's just from a time when I was growing up, and it's about time I listened to all the other arguments subsequent to that. He doesn't do any of that. He doesn't even wonder why he has those thoughts. He just has them, and therefore they are right. Yeah. And nothing will shake him from those beliefs.
Yeah, and once he decides, once he decides on a stance, that's his stance. Unless, as we've seen in various places, it's politically advantageous for him to just completely backtrack on what he thought. But usually it's just his stubbornly sticking with what he thought. And one of the stances he came up with in the late 80s was that 5 black teenagers who were accused of raping and almost killing a jogger in Central Park were guilty and should have the death penalty if the woman died. She didn't die, fortunately, in the end, but he paid $85,000 to put full-page ads in various New York newspapers, calling for the bringing back of the death penalty, especially for this case, and that the 5 black youths were obviously guilty. And despite the fact that in 2001 DNA evidence showed that they didn't do it, exonerated them, and then a serial rapist who was already in prison confessed to the crime, and his DNA matched with the evidence that they had got at the time, and the Central Park 5 were released and given a kind of a settlement by New York for having wrongfully imprisoned them. He still refuses to accept that he was wrong.
Wow.
Journalist April Ryan asked if he would apologise to the Central Park 5, and this was his response.
You have people on both sides of that. They admitted their guilt. If you look at Linda Fairstein and if you look at some of the prosecutors, they think that the city should never have settled that case. So we'll leave it at that.
So he's not prepared to accept that even though they've been legally exonerated and DNA evidence showed that they didn't do it, that's not enough. They did confess. That is actually a fair point, but they were teenagers who were coerced over the course of over a day and possibly 2 days and kind of kept awake and away from their parents, and then confessed. So, confessed in inconsistent ways, and none of them actually confessed to committing the crime. They all confessed to being there while someone else did it. So it was, not convincing, but he's absolutely unwilling to backtrack and accept that he was wrong and he shouldn't have been so kind of strong in his opinion at that time.
And horrifyingly, in there, there's a foreshadowing of on both sides from the that's just horrific, isn't it? You can hear him fully formed as a bigger. Well,
that clip was actually quite recent. That was that was in the last year or two, because there was a documentary about the case which brought it up into the public consciousness again, and kind of. So
even if oh my god, that wasn't at the time then.
No, this was quite recent. This is over a decade, almost 2 decades after the 5 were exonerated. So whoa.
If it wasn't so scary, it would be possible to dismiss it as just being stupid.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of stupid, our third example is actually some of Trump's supporters who were standing outside one of his rallies waiting for almost a full day to watch him rant like a crazy person. And Jordan Klepper from The Daily Show went and asked them if they'd actually read the transcript that Trump has been exhorting everyone to read. They thought it was important that other people read it.
Read the transcript, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Did you read the transcript?
I've read most of it, but there's nothing.
Skim the transcript.
Yeah, I don't have time for reading all the impeachment, all that bullshit, But
how long have you been waiting out here for Donald Trump?
Since 8 o'clock.
Hours. A lot of free time.
Absolutely.
Read the transcript.
Read the transcript.
Yeah.
Did you read the transcript?
I don't have to. Everyone else has. I can read it if I need to, but...
Right, yeah. But it's important that everybody reads the transcript.
It is very important. Pay attention and think for yourself.
Yes. You have, but to be clear, you have not read the transcript.
I haven't, no.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is just important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't be a sheep, think for yourself.
But again, just to be very clear, you have not read it.
I have not read it.
You just trusted somebody else to read it.
Yeah.
Really.
So
don't be a sheep. Think for yourself. But yeah, I've not read it. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's and to be completely fair, obviously the Daily Show have cherry picked. They probably asked other people who had read the transcript, but that doesn't make for such good TV. But yeah, these are supporters who have listened to what Trump has said, that he didn't do anything wrong. They have been presented with the evidence. They've been told to look at the evidence by Trump, and they have just decided that nope, their first instinct that he didn't do anything wrong, that you know they're going to believe what he said is correct. They don't need to look at the evidence. That even when he's telling them that they should. And that seems to be a weirdly successful strategy of his, because most of the people who have read the transcript understand that it doesn't say most of the stuff he says it says.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Well, perhaps he knows. Do you think he knows that? Does he know that?
I doubt it. But it does. There does seem to be some kind of weird reverse psychology where people are like, well, if he's telling us to read the transcript must exonerate him. Because he wouldn't say it otherwise, would he?
Yeah.
I don't actually need to look at it.
Report, isn't it? Yeah. It's like the Mueller report. Read the Mueller report. No collusion. Well, yeah, that's true, because he wasn't addressing the notion of collusion at all. So you're right, but so it's dear. Yeah. But it is a kind of it's a meta level of the very person that is telling them to do it, they believe he's right, and he's saying I'm right because if you read the thing, it tells you you're right. It doesn't. But then they haven't even bothered to read that because
they trust him. So it's bizarre.
Wow. And there's something about that the invincibility of your ignorance. It's got to remain pure. You've got to remain purely ignorant. So you do all you can to just say, no, you can't persuade me otherwise. I'm not going to look at the evidence otherwise. Because in a way, if you did, it would make you fall to the ground.
And I mean, you can have
even from the horse's mouth.
I can have a little bit of sympathy with people who aren't prepared to put in the extra research to look into stuff and find the kind of the source material or go into the background of the kind of stuff that I do for fun. But I don't have any sympathy with people who are being kind of literally presented with the evidence and being told to read it, and then and it's not a long document. It's not.
No,
not
going to take you an
hour. Not a 6-page letter, for example. They're just it's not a lot.
A couple of bullet
it
points
wouldn't take them long. But no, they're not even prepared to look at it. They will just defend him blindly instead.
And in that blissful ignorance to say, you've got to think for yourself, not be a sheep. So are you being a sheep by reading the transcript? Is that where your sheepness comes from? Are you thinking that you're being herded by the master shepherd himself? Or what? Or is it other people who are... Where is the sheep bit? Who are the sheep? The people that read it or the people that don't?
I'm not sure he's thought it through that far.
No.
I think the metaphor falls down well before it gets anywhere near that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now is the time, I think, for Mark's British Politics Corner.
Well, this takes us back to the heady days of Theresa May's premiership, which all seems like the...
Look back in nostalgia now too, don't we?
Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of, it's like rose tinted. There's blue skies. It was, there was an equitable society. All was well. And Corbyn was, riding high on various votes, not least for the this I think this is a great example of kind of willful and invincible ignorance, which is surrounding Theresa May's withdrawal agreement. So this was the deal that she went to strike with Brussels and the EU in order to set out the terms upon which Britain would leave the EU and then begin negotiations on how to achieve the agreement that they'd drawn up with between them. So she drew this up with her cabinet at Chequers, I think, and then took it to Brussels. And in the interim, while she was in Brussels, various people resigned, including Boris Johnson, resigned from the cabinet as Foreign Secretary over the contents of the withdrawal agreement. Theresa May brought it back, having got it agreed with Brussels, pending agreement in Parliament, and then she presented it to Parliament 3 times. And what we've got here is a clip of the count from the people that say yes, the ayes, as in who says aye, we all say aye, and the noes. And she presented the same thing 3 times over. So we're going to hear the count, and then we're going to hear the MP who was the then chairman of the Tory party, kind of saying that it's a good thing. So he's the one that's embodying the invincible ignorance of Theresa May's party. So let's have a listen to the clip.
The ayes to the right, 202. The noes to the left, 432.
Order.
The ayes to the right, 242. The noes to the left, 391.
The ayes to the right, 286. The noes to the left, 344.
A third defeat of the Prime Minister's plan hasn't necessarily deterred the government trying a 4th time.
What I do continue to believe is that the deal which delivers on the referendum in a way that works for our economy is the best way forward, but recognising some colleagues do still have concerns about that we need to work through. But Parliament ultimately has to vote for something.
So this also, you can notice a slow trend towards not losing quite so much each time. I mean, it's quite nice listening to just the audio with the oohs and ahs, because the thumping defeat first time round,
that was shocking. First one. That's like the biggest defeat that has happened in Parliament
since the 20s for 100 years. Yeah. So, and you kind of think, well, at that point, why did she not just give up? But there is this kind of willful ignorance in the face of all this lack of support that they've got to vote for something, is what the guy said. They've got to. I believe it's still the best deal in terms of the economy. Well, that's fine. You can believe that all you like in the face of this ongoing defeat. And it isn't, and Parliament's got to vote for something. I think there was another MP that even said, actually, things have got better because the number of people who are voting against, the percentage has gone down. So I think that their strategy was just to keep presenting it until eventually it got through, which is not the same as agreement. And it's
a bit like the bit in 12 Angry Men where some of them start voting guilty just so that they can go.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, quite. So what happened was that John Bercow, the then speaker, said, no, you can't present this again because you just can't keep coming back with the same thing over and over again. What's the bloody point? And so what we've had since the election, the trauma of the last couple of weeks, following his election win, and he called the election because Parliament still didn't agree a deal, is what he said. But that's not true. He did take the deal, back to Brussels. He took out all sorts of bits that May's deal included, which he viewed as the sticking point as to why Parliament wouldn't vote it through. So he just took them out. And Brussels went, all right then, if those are the things that you can get an agreement from in the UK, we will consider it. So he brought it back, hailed it as a massive victory, and then put it to Parliament and gave them something like 3 days to scrutinise the details. And Parliament went, OK, so we'll accept the bill insofar as we're not going to block it again like we did 3 times with Theresa May, but we need longer than 3 days to think about it. So,
or to even read it, frankly.
Or even to read it, yeah. So he called a general election. Said, not only am I going to take my ball away, I'm going to dismantle the stadium. In the run-up to the election, apart from it just being about Brexit, which it just was, the Tories purported to be champions of the National Health Service and came up with this pledge that there would be an enormous increase in the number of nurses working for the NHS under the Tories. They would have 50,000 more nurses. And here is Nicky Morgan, the Culture Secretary, who is displaying an invincible ignorance in the face of mathematics.
When he leads a manifesto that the flagship policy in it is there going to be 50,000 more nurses, and now you as the Culture Secretary, a member of that cabinet, a member of the government, admit that 19,000 of them already are NHS nurses. Viewers at home go, well, this is complete nonsense.
But there will be 50... There are other ways that nurses come in to the NHS. There will be overall, and we're very, very clear on this, 50,000 more nurses, if you look in 10 years' time, than there are today.
I know you keep saying that.
And in terms of the trust issue...
I know you keep saying that, but 19,000 of them are existing NHS nurses. Do you see the problem?
But I think it's realistic to say we've got highly skilled staff who we do not want to leave. And that is, if we are able to persuade them and to encourage them to stay, that is good news for nursing care in this country.
Yes, but it's not more nurses. Nicky Morgan, isn't it a bit like saying... on Good Morning Britain tomorrow morning, there will be 3 more presenters. And then tomorrow you just have exactly the same number of presenters because you managed to persuade me, Piers and Charlotte to carry on doing the job tomorrow.
Well, not if there's an additional 3. Not if there's an additional 3, and then you've got your 6, haven't you? But the fact is that 3 of you have been encouraged to come on Tuesday morning and not just on Monday morning.
Yeah, Nicky.
Do we not have really odd maths
Even as you said that sentence, you knew that was probably a wrong avenue to go down, didn't you?
No, I think it's very clear about the 50,000...
We wouldn't have 6 more presenters. We'd have the existing 3 presenters.
Here's my problem.
And 3 extra presenters.
You can tell when politicians are being absolutely opaque because they start saying clear or crystal clear or let me be clear, or it's patently clear, or all of those things. As soon as they mention the word clear, you just know that it isn't. And, it's perfectly clear that there are going to be 50,000 more. And then she kind of goes off and distracts your attention by saying, I'm sure you'll agree that it's a good thing that we keep these nurses. Yeah, all right. But Piers Morgan, much as we hate him, he's quite tenacious when it comes to bullying people and making them seem wrong. I've just realised that's what he does. But it's just satisfying when it's the Tories, not so when it's the Socialists. And but him just say that's all very well, but the maths doesn't work. And she just keeps doing a Boris type thing, and he just says, no, it isn't, no, it isn't, no, it isn't. And she's going, well, it is more people, it is more people. And then. So that was on the 25th of November, before the election, in the run-up to the election. After the election, the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, is still... he's attempting to make it even clearer, which means it's becoming more opaque.
The commitment is that we will increase the number of nurses by 50,000. So on the latest figures, there are 280,599 full-time equivalent nurses currently in the NHS. We will increase that figure by 50,000. That is the commitment. And you can do that both by hiring more nurses in, new nurses, and by encouraging nurses not to leave.
You can't.
You can't.
You can't increase the number
like
from 280,000 to 330,000 by not losing any.
He can't. He almost gets to the point where he's actually working out that he gets quite stroppy with the interviewer at this point, but the interviewer just kind of, and he does that usual Michael Gove kind of thing, saying, well, if you just let me answer the question, that's how interviews work. And to his credit, the interviewer says, yeah, if you do answer the question, that's how interviews work. So I'll ask you again. So, which is when we get this reply. But as David Schneider, who was one of the script writers on The Thick of It,
yeah,
which became Veep in the US, he tweeted on the day that this came out, I have 4 apples. Just by not losing any apples, I end up with more apples. Well, no, it doesn't work like that, does it? Yeah. And we can't actually go on any further in British politics corner with if we're talking about the argument from pig-headedness. And we just need to mention David Cameron's initiation ceremony that was written about by, was it one of his ministers who did a biography of him, or mentioned in his own autobiography about David Cameron as part of the initiation ceremony, possibly into the Bullingdon Club at Oxford, that he had to basically fuck a pig's head.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that in my autobiography personally. Call me crazy. I think I'd leave that out.
Yeah, no, I think somebody else, he left it out of his, somebody else put it in theirs.
Right.
And said, oh yeah, we know Dave, Dave the pig head fucker, Dave,
Makes me think of that joke, I built this house, but do they call me Andy the house builder? No, but you fuck one goat.
Yeah. Exactly that. And what Cameron's been doing ever since is fucking us all over. Yeah.
Though the arguments are enthralling, the logic employed's appalling. It's a fallacy in the wild, in the wild, in the wild, in the wild. Man, the ignorance is just frightful, but destroying them's delightful. It's a fallacy in the wild, in the wild, in the wild, in the wild.
There you go, Dean Martin there with the Christmas favourite, Let It Snow. Yeah, and I did write that about 3 months ago. That it just suddenly occurred to me. For some reason, I don't know why I was hearing "Let It Snow" 3 months ago, but just wrote down that word, and I've been carrying it around, waiting for Christmas to happen.
Wow.
Yeah,
that was well worth it. So, in the Fallacy in the Wild, we like to talk about the Fallacy of the Week from a non-political perspective, and our first example this week comes from South Park, because Cartman is basically this fallacy personified. In fact, Cartman and Trump share quite a few traits.
Yeah. I think they should just do it to turn him orange.
Yeah, I mean, it could come out in a future series of South Park that it's all been a kind of a backstory of Trump and his upbringing. Yeah, so in this particular episode, Cartman has been beaten up quite viciously by Wendy Testerberger, and he's upset that now he thinks his friends won't think he's cool.
My school life is over because now all the guys don't think I'm cute.
Dude, we never thought you were cool.
That's not true. You're just saying that.
No, really. We've always thought you suck.
Yeah, nothing's changed. Our opinion of you can't possibly go any lower.
You're all just saying that to make me feel better.
No, it's true. We've always hated you.
Yeah. Don't try and make me feel better, you guys. Wait a minute. Why would you guys be saying stuff to make me feel better? Unless you do think I'm cute.
What?
If you're all trying to make me feel better, then you must still like me. Oh, phew. Yeah, I've been so worried about what you guys were gonna think of me getting beat up by a girl, and it turns out you think I'm cool no matter what. Oh, God, what a relief. Yay!
So
great, isn't it?
Even in the face of literally everyone telling him that they don't think he's cool, they think he sucks.
And the fact that they're on their faces, even though they're kind of the 2D clunky animated faces, you can see the bewilderment on each of their faces. So looking and going, no, we really do. And he's going, right, yeah, it's just a brilliant twisted logic. It's just horrible, isn't it? Which actually makes him even more hateful.
Yeah, it's very good. And we stick with animation for our second example, and it's Family Guy. And this is one of the asides, the sidebar bits of Family Guy where it just goes off and it's not the main characters. And it is basically exactly this fallacy. And it's a guy talking to a literal donkey.
Nope. Sorry. Kevin Bacon wasn't in Footloose.
What? Of course he was.
No, he wasn't. You lose.
Of course he was. He was the star.
Nope, you're wrong. Look it up.
I don't have to look it up. It's common knowledge. He was on the cover of People magazine when the movie. Everyone knows Kevin Bacon was a star of Footloose. It was a huge movie. He was the lead. No.
So
that's just Boris Johnson as well. No.
Yeah.
No.
And to be fair, the guy who is putting forward the argument that Kevin Bacon was in Footloose isn't doing a particularly good job of it. He's using various fallacies, including saying that everyone knows that, and I don't have to look it up. I know it. Yeah, he's not doing a good job of making the argument. But the other guy, the donkey, is just refusing to listen and just saying no.
So, don't have to. I just know it. Yeah, you're wrong. Yeah, yes, yeah. And that's the equivalent of the guy saying, "I don't need to read the transcript. That's for other people to do it." With the bloke offering the argument, he's saying, "Well, yeah, just look it up. Just go look it up." He said, "Well, I don't need to. Don't need to don't need to look it up. I just know." Yeah, a little bit.
So they're both doing it to some extent in that. Yeah. And our final example is a tweet, which was from someone called Catherine Nolag, and it's brilliant. It encapsulates this. It says, "I still think my favourite thing that's ever happened to me on the internet is the time a guy said, 'People change their minds when you show them facts.' And I said, 'Actually, studies show that's not true,' and linked 2 sources. And he said, 'Yeah, well, I still think it works.'"
Oh, that's excellent. That's brilliant, isn't it? It's like the equivalent of a Mobius strip, where you take a loop and you twist it halfway round so it doesn't. It's just one continuous thing, and you look at it and go, "That's not quite right." Or it's like Isha's staircase, isn't it? That's brilliant.
It is brilliant. It's a whole kind of self-contained, just meta mistake in there. That's great.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
So we're gonna play fake news, folks. I love the game. It's a great game. I understand the game as well as anybody.
Yes, it's time for fake news, the game where I read out 3 Trump quotes, 2 of which are real and 1 I made up, and Mark has to figure out which one is fake news.
And of course, I'm winning because I've got everything right so far. Whatever scores you present, it's clear I'm completely owning fake news. Just read the score sheet.
Yeah, the score is currently 15 out of 37.
Well, frankly, there you go. That's all the proof you need. I am winning this. Have been from day one.
So
nothing you can say will make me change my mind on that.
Since this is the Christmas episode, and last year we did a Christmas special of fake news where we talked about films that Trump had been in, including Home Alone 2. That's great. And so we are diverting from our usual course of Trump quotes this week again, but this time, because it's Christmas, what's more Christmassy than Rudolph, the red-faced lawyer, Rudy Giuliani?
Very good.
And so this week I have 6 crimes that Rudy has confessed to in interviews, and 2 of which I made up.
Yeah.
So and so you have a possibility of getting 2 points here if you can get both of the ones I made. If you get one of them, you get 1 point. If you get 2 of them, you get 2 points. So there you go.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Number 1, he confessed on Trump's behalf to campaign finance violations when he told Sean Hannity that Trump reimbursed Michael Cohen for the payments to Stormy Daniels, and the next day told Fox and Friends that Michael Cohen had made it go away so it didn't come out during the campaign. Number 2, he confirmed that asking Ukraine to investigate the Bidens was purely in Trump's personal interest when he tweeted, "The investigation I conducted concerning 2016 Ukrainian collusion and corruption was done solely as a defense attorney to defend my client against false charges." 3. He confessed to perjury when he told Tucker Carlson that he told Robert Mueller only the things that Trump and he had agreed upon in advance, so, quote, "I held back some things that could be misinterpreted. Truth isn't truth. Maybe they have a different version of the truth than we do."
Okay.
4. He confirmed Trump's corrupt intent in removing Ambassador Yovanovitch when he told the New Yorker magazine, quote, "I believed that I needed Yovanovitch out of the way. She was going to make the investigations difficult for everybody." 5. He confessed to violating both the Foreign Agents Registration Act and FEC regulations when he admitted to Chuck Todd on Meet the Press that he helped Ukrainian businessmen Igor Fruman and Lev Parnas funnel foreign money into Republican political campaigns. And 6. He confessed to taking part in a criminal conspiracy to receive classified information when he said on Fox and Friends that he had access to the Ukraine call transcript before the White House released it. When Brian Kilmeade asked if he'd read it, he said, "Let's say it was read to me."
Okay.
And I should say,
read the transcript.
There were other things that I could have picked, but I didn't want this segment to be too long. There were other things he's confessed to on TV and in tweets and in interviews, but
and from a butt dial,
you know, But this episode has to end at some point, so I thought
we could have done a 12 Days of Christmas quite easily. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think the first one is true. That the whole Stormy Daniels thing. That said, see, it might just be that as they age, they just gain the kind of ossification of truth. So it confirmed, and that the truth isn't truth. It sounds very familiar. He's not just a red face, he's just completely inept as well. Why would you hire this guy? Why does Trump continue to pay for him?
I think he's misunderstood the term criminal defense attorney. I think he's... That's the problem.
Yeah, there you go. As opposed to another kind of defense attorney. Yes, yeah. Okay. I think then, that... Numbers 5, the funneling money with the Cabbage Patch Dolls. Number 5 and number 2. Investigation I conducted was solely done as a defense attorney. They're all just so. Given his track record, which is probably a fallacy in itself. Argument from antiquity, because he's done it all like this, they're all completely possible. Okay. Now I'm not sure about number 6 now. Right, I think number 2 you made up. And I believe the Yovanovitch one. Number 2 and number 6, I think, are the ones you made up.
So we'll go through them in order. I don't have clips for these because, again, this would just take forever. Because some of them contain multiple instances of things going on. So number 1, Rudy did indeed confess to campaign on Trump's behalf to campaign finance violations. He did tell Sean Hannity that Trump reimbursed Michael Cohen. Not only having previously Trump said that he didn't even know about the payments.
Yeah.
Giuliani announced that not only did he know about them, but he reimbursed Michael Cohen for them. And then the next day he said, imagine what would happen if it had come out in the last debate with Hillary or during that period. So Michael Cohen, he didn't even ask Trump about it. He just made it go away. That was his job, and he did it. So couldn't be more blatant that he was saying, yes, this was totally about the campaign. It was tens of thousands of dollars that were paid, and it was entirely to benefit the campaign.
And yet Trump says impeachment is just a hoax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is true.
Jesus, he's not even in the bloody office.
No.
During the campaign. Oh my God.
So number 2, he did confirm in that
what the fuck, really?
that the investigation into the Bidens was not, as Trump has been saying, for the good of the country. When he said do us a favour, though, he's recently started claiming that was the country that he meant rather than himself. Giuliani has tweeted,
the hell?
The investigation I conducted concerning 2016 Ukraine collusion and corruption was done solely as a defence attorney to defend my client against false charges.
What is he? He's just the what? He's the most inept lawyer ever. How did he ever pass his exam? Well, you probably got people in high places. Wow. Some things you just. Because Twitter's there, you don't need to tweet it. You could just keep it to yourself.
Yeah. He could say a lot less stuff, and then he'd be in less danger of accidentally confessing to things.
Yeah, on other people's behalf, and consequently, pouring boiling tar on other people. Wow. And then, does he know that he's doing it, or is he just?
He doesn't. I mean, he can't. He's a lawyer. His job is to protect his client, not to deliberately and repeatedly.
Say, I did it in order to protect my client. What is it? What about client confidentiality?
It's not even. That wasn't even the only time that he talked about how his work in Ukraine was solely to help Trump, not the country, and he wasn't doing foreign policy work. He's tweeted that a number of times in different forms. So the number 3, he has, as far as I'm aware, not confessed to perjury and talking to Mueller.
Okay.
That's very
good.
As far as I know, he didn't even talk to Mueller at all.
Right.
So he did say truth isn't truth in a completely different context to Chuck Todd, but and he was was when he was defending his decision that Trump definitely shouldn't talk to Robert Mueller because he would basically definitely be. He would perjure himself if he did.
Which is actually, let's face it, just as bad a thing to. Oh, well,
so that was fake news. Number 3.
Okay.
Number 4. He did indeed confirm Trump's corrupt intent in removing Ambassador Yovanovitch. He said to New Yorker magazine just last week, I believe that I needed Yovanovitch out of the way. She was going to make the investigations difficult for everybody, which is fairly blatant. I mean, there's not. When you're saying essentially, I wanted to conduct investigations into Trump's rival, and this ambassador was going to make it hard for me to do that, so we got rid of her.
I just got rid of her. I mean, how much clearer do you need?
So, and then he went on TV and accused her of being corrupt and various other things, which a number of lawyers have offered her kind of pro bono representation if she decides to sue him for defamation. So, that should be fun.
Take him up on it. Do it. Wow.
And so the next one, number 5, which you were a bit iffy on, That is fake news. He has not confessed. In fact, he's denied. He is under investigation by the FBI. For possibly violating the FARA and the FEC regulations for helping the Ukrainian businessmen to funnel foreign money into Republican campaigns. But he has not confessed to it as yet. Any day now. It could happen. But yeah. Igor Fruman and Lev Parnas.
Those two. Oh, yeah, I did that. Yeah.
Lev Parnas is currently cooperating with law enforcement. The two, I saw a court. You know, they do courtroom sketches because they're not allowed to take photos in court. I don't know why, because they have cameras doing video in court these days. But they still do the courtroom sketches. And these two, Igor Fruman and Lev Parnas, you look at them in the sketch and it looks like it's just a bad artist who can't do faces, but that's what they look like.
Yeah.
You think, no, that's not where the ear goes, but no, it is on them. Yeah.
I think there's a Gary Larson cartoon where the kid...
absolutely.
There's a kid on the, paint a drawing of mom on the fridge door, and it's all kind of skew-if and stuff, and you look at it and the whoever's visiting going, oh, look at that, that's so cute. And then he looks up and the mum looks exactly like it. Yeah. Oh, what?
So he hasn't yet confessed to that. So, which means that the sixth one, which was confessing to receiving classified information, is true. And some federal attorneys have said that is a crime, and he's basically confessed to taking part in a criminal conspiracy.
Well, they're all crimes.
Absolutely. This is one of the crimes that he's confessed to. But yes, the call transcript at that point hadn't been released. It was still classified. It was in fact only just off the top secret code name server. So he apparently had access to that, which he shouldn't have done.
Jesus. No. And yet he's still he's not behind bars.
He's still got a law license. He's still
He's definitely.
But he is under federal investigation. So for a number of things.
Now then,
and
and
that's
quite good actually, because the so the the ones I thought were true and are actually fake. We've got those to look forward to. That's going to happen, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah.
So, unfortunately, that means out of the possible 2 additional points that you could have got there,
I'm still winning.
You were unable to secure any additional...
and yet I'm still winning.
Points. Yeah. Which means you're on 15 out of 38.
Read the score sheet. Read the score sheets.
So it's time for the part of the show that this week at least is called Trump Sitting on a Throne of Lies is Not a Logical Fallacy. Because it's the end of the year. And so we thought, rather than talk about, impeachment or that kind of stuff that's actually in the news, we'd just do a quick roundup of some of the biggest lies or the most frequent lies that Trump has told. Because the Washington Post recently updated their fact-checking database of Trump's misleading and false claims, which they've more recently been just calling lies. And as of December 10th, in 1,055 days, President Trump had made 15,413 false or misleading claims.
Wow.
The number of lies that he told in 2019 is higher than the total for 2017 and 2018 combined.
Wow. There's some lovely animated charts on the Washington Post, and you just look at it and you go, it's like an exponential curve. When you go, oh yeah, what's an exponential relationship? You just go, and they put underneath it kind of key time things like healthcare repeal and border separation policy enacted, midterms. There's a great big spike there at midterms. Oh my God, it's huge. Yeah. It's like number of claims 120 a day. Oh my word. So like 80. Wow, that's great, isn't it?
It is.
I do want it to be throne shaped though. The monthly one is somewhat castle shaped. Yeah.
It is amazing. So some of the ones that he's repeated the most times, obviously there's so many of them, we don't have time to go through a lot of them, but just kind of the more frequent ones. One is he has continually said that he has created the strongest economy in our country's history. And even setting aside the fact that he didn't create it, the lie that it's the strongest economy in history is enough of a lie, and Washington Post fact checkers say that by just about any important measure, the economy today is not doing as well as it did under Presidents Eisenhower, Johnson, or Clinton, or even Ulysses S. Grant. So yes, it's the stock market is high. That's about all he can claim, really. And unemployment is low, but again, that was on a kind of downward trajectory throughout Obama's second term, certainly. And it's not his creation. He hasn't totally fucked it up, basically.
Yeah.
He hasn't sent it into a recession yet. But that's
he uses it as the latest thing is that's his defence of why would you impeach somebody who has done this for the economy, whereas all the other stuff, it was whatever current thing was being hurled at him, that was the defence against that as well.
And that's what we logic types call a non sequitur.
Yes,
because those two things don't follow. You don't avoid impeaching someone who has also done good things among the crimes they committed. You focus on the crimes when you're looking at whether to convict them of something. I think I may have tweeted something similar at Charlie Kirk at some point. Did you know that you can cure cancer and find a source of free energy, but if you kill someone, you still go to prison?
Nice.
The Washington Post fact checkers say that he has repeated the claim that the economy is the strongest in the country's history 242 times, making it his most repeated lie.
That is, if nothing else, that is invincible ignorance, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
that you just kind of despite everything that you could fling at him, you can point to 4 presidencies, including Bill Clinton's, and say no, the economy was much better then. What standard? By what standard are you measuring the economy? Well, let's look at those. Under all the other presidents, they're all performing better than you have, and you have nothing to do with it.
Yeah, and one of the things you have to completely ignore to say that the economy is strong is the deficit, because it is extremely high, and that's part of why the stock market is good, because by giving huge tax credits or tax cuts to very rich people, they have more to invest in the stock market. But it does mean that you don't have as much money to spend on stuff, so your deficit goes up dramatically. And that's one way of kind of injecting some energy into the economy. So
and those are, so on the face of it, those are the things that the Dow Jones gets looked at to say, oh yeah, well this is the top 500 or whatever companies, they're performing well, therefore the economy is going up. But it's completely artificial, because it's just brought about by damaging other areas of the economy further down.
Look at the tariffs
down,
for example, which have cost America a huge amount of money, and then the bailouts to the farmers that again have cost the taxpayers money.
That damage.
So there's been there's a lot of things that point to it not being the strongest. Let's just say that. So yes, and the stock market, while a useful measure, doesn't have a direct impact on a lot of Americans. It has an indirect impact because their savings may be invested in the stock market, or their insurance funds may be invested in the stock market. But in terms of people who directly own shares or stocks, then it's actually a quite small percentage of the US population.
Maybe the 1%.
Yeah, it's a bit more. It's somewhere around 20%, I think, who have shares directly owned by them. But yeah, in terms of obviously how rich those people are, it is the richer ones in general.
Yeah.
The second most repeated claim.
So that's the top one. Yeah,
that's the top one. The second, with almost as many, 235 times he's claimed this, is that the wall is being built. And going up at a rapid pace, he has recently been saying.
Yeah. Well, faster than geological time, certainly. Yeah.
Yes. So he's claimed all kinds of things. He regularly claims that they will put up 500 miles, 400 miles, 260 miles by the end of the year, all kinds of things like that. There have been 64 miles of fences and barriers built during Trump's presidency, all of which are replacements for old fence that existed in that place.
Well, you see, using the mathematics of the health secretary, then that's more fencing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, if you can convince existing fencing to stay, that means there's more fencing. We're committed to increasing the thing. So he's committed to putting the wall up. The thing about the wall is that the vast population of America won't be able to see it with their own eyes. They won't go and look at it. And the only way they get to know that it's happened is because Trump's told them that it's happened.
Yeah.
So he keeps telling them that it's happened. And therefore they go, well, yeah, he's built the wall. Well, how do you know that? Well, he told us. Yeah, but if you looked at the evidence, no, I haven't got time for that. Other people should look at the evidence if you want to prove it otherwise. But he's told me, and that's good enough for me. And I said, yeah, but it's not there. So, well, that picture could be photoshopped. You photoshopped out the fence.
Yeah, and there was they have been basically replacing barriers that needed replacing with newer barriers. They have not funded new wall. They haven't acquired the private land that they need to build the new wall. Yeah. They haven't even kind of. Well, the various versions of the wall that he claimed at various points that would be cement and 30 foot high and all kinds of things like that have not happened, and the barriers that they have put up have
got
been
a working prototype yet.
They've been kind of cut through by $100 saws that you can get from Home Depot, and it's not effective.
People have built seesaws through them as well, so that you can play either side of the damn thing. Yeah.
So, and the last one I want to talk about of his oft-repeated claims is the just total lack of understanding that he has about trade deficits, where there's 175 times he has claimed that the US has lost up to $500 billion a year to China for many, many years, which has never been true at any point. Even if trade deficit means you lose money, which it doesn't, it's still never been that high.
Yeah.
And even then, he's only talking about the goods deficit, which is only part of the story. The biggest it's been, certainly during his presidency, is the goods deficit, which is just the trade of goods, completely ignoring any services that are traded between the two countries, was $419 billion in 2018. Once you factor in services,
and this is specifically China.
Specifically with China, yes,
right.
US versus China.
Yeah.
When you factor in services, which which China has a deficit to the US for, because they buy more US services than US people buy Chinese services, it goes down to $378 billion. So it's a long way from $500 billion, and it's not losing money.
No,
as we've described in the past, it's like going to a supermarket, buying some stuff, and then saying, I just lost $50 to Safeway.
And all I got was
$50 worth of food.
Yeah, chlorinated chicken. Yeah. It's just... No. That is... all of these, I would propose, Malud, are invincible ignorance examples.
Yeah.
Aren't they?
Absolutely. When he is repeating stuff this often and he has absolutely been told this isn't true, what you're saying is not true, here is the evidence it's not true, and he is repeatedly just saying it because it works for him politically, because he has so many followers who are also invincibly ignorant.
Yes, exactly.
They refuse to pay attention to any evidence.
Yeah, yeah, because you can prove anything with facts. Yeah, as we often say, and he's repeated that this man is the president of the United States, and he's just repeated this 175 times. Since, well, he's kind of, mostly this year and last year.
Yeah. And we've heard through Reading Fear that even when people like Gary Cohn have tried to explain to him about deficits, he doesn't want to hear it. He is willfully being ignorant. He is choosing to remain ignorant, because if they say anything that doesn't fit with what he already believes, he just refuses to listen. Speaking of Trump's lies, we just have to talk about the fact that basically Trump started the airing of grievances part of Festivus early and sent a 6-page rant. Basically, he kind of tweeted for 6 pages and then put it in a letter and sent it to Nancy Pelosi on the eve of the impeachment vote. Just crying about how unfair it is that they're doing this to him.
Yeah, that's basically it, isn't it?
It was... I mean... He sent some interesting letters before, like the one to the president of Turkey and the one that he claimed his doctor wrote, which he clearly wrote.
Oh, yeah. That one. Yeah.
But this was the rantiest, and it also had a number of just outright lies and exaggerations and the kinds of things that he often says. So I just thought we'd cover a few of those really as well. Because one of the things he claimed, if you're trying to steelman him, could be argued to be hyperbole, but he said that more due process was afforded to those accused in the Salem witch trials. That's not true.
It's brilliant language, though, isn't it?
Yeah. More than 20 people were killed in the Salem witch trials with... and that was invincible ignorance that the prosecutors in those trials showed, because there was no proof that they could be showed which would convince them that these people were not witches. And that is not the case. The Democrats have asked for evidence from Trump. They've asked, in fact, for the people who Trump says would prove him innocent to testify, and he has refused to allow them to do that. So,
on the basis that they might prove him.
Well, the basis that he's given is that the whole thing
defense.
is a sham and a hoax, and he's not going to take part in it.
Right.
But the real answer is that if they had to say stuff under oath, they might possibly tell the truth.
Say the truth, yeah.
So it's much more convenient for them to be speaking not under oath to the public on TV and stuff.
Yeah. And talking about how the witch hunt was, but what the hell? And he wrote this on headed notepaper.
Oh yeah,
like from the office of the President of the United States.
Yeah, it's an official White House letter.
That's going to be in the historical archives forever, isn't it?
Yeah, in the National Archives it'll be there. Yeah, he and. And some of his followers think it's like amazing, and it will be studied by future historians as an example of how amazing Trump was. He got his election numbers wrong. He claimed that he won. This is 1,000 days plus after the election. He's still talking about how much he won by, and he claimed it was 306 votes to 227. So he's lying about that. He claimed, for example, that the Veterans Choice Program for the VA was one of his achievements when again, this is a claim that he's made a number of times when the Veterans' Choice Programme was actually signed by Obama in 2014. He says that people have been trying to get it done for decades, and he did it. He didn't do it. He mentioned that they're building the wall, which, as we've talked about, they're not.
He put this in the rant.
It was there was no kind of through line of logic at all. There was no. It wasn't. It was a series of paragraphs, each crazier than the last, about a wide range of different things. Very few of which had anything to do with impeachment.
No. It's basically it's him trotting out his list of achievements that he's made up in defence of the fact, well, you shouldn't impeach me because I'm the bestest there's ever been. Here's all the proof.
Absolutely.
And what you're doing to me is unprecedented since the 1600s. And it's like
a kind of fifth grader being caught doing something bad, and their punishment is to write a letter apologising, and instead they write a letter defending themselves and saying it's really unfair that they've been punished.
Yeah.
We'll put a link to the letter in the show notes, and I mean it's well worth looking at. It is
great. Yeah. One
of the craziest things. But I mean, if you follow Trump on Twitter, or if you pay any attention to what he says, none of it's new stuff. It's not extra surprising or extra crazy. It's just all concentrated into one official letter that he sent to the Speaker of the House.
Which makes you realise that, thank God for the limit on Twitter. That it's just too much in one big wodge like this. It's kind of. It is Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas dinner with all the trimmings in one go. And you think, I really can't bear another spoonful. But it's a greatest hits album, isn't it? It's like that where you buy it in good faith and you think, oh, this is great. I've got all 20 of...
You could download a Trump bingo card and play it while reading the letter. And, I mean, you'd win pretty quickly.
You'd win. Exactly, yeah. And finally, some things we really don't have time to talk about.
Yes, as we've already mentioned, the House has voted to impeach Trump. Yay. Much has been made of the fact that the votes were largely along party lines, although that's partly because Republican Justin Amash was kicked out of the GOP for signalling that he would vote in favour of impeachment, and Democrat Jeff Van Drew found that his Democratic supporters weren't feeling so supportive when he didn't support impeachment, so he went over to the dark side. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi is trying something. After Mitch McConnell announced on TV that he had no intention of upholding his oath to act impartially, Nancy has decided to exercise her right not to send the articles of impeachment to the Senate until they agree on a set of fair rules for the trial. The GOP senators are fine with this, since they didn't want the trial anyway, but Trump is quite keen to have everyone say he's totally exonerated, so this might put a bit of pressure on the leadership to make the court a little bit less kangaroo-y.
One day in the future, East Africa will be like Wakanda from Marvel's Black Panther, and the world will be running to visit, holiday and trade there. But no, wait, the future's right here, right now. Well, in the US anyway. The government website lists Wakanda in the drop-down of countries it currently trades with. There it is, right below Panama and Peru. And look, frozen Chinese water chestnuts are tariff-free if the US decides to import them from Wakanda. Cows are also tariff-free, but it's not proof that the Trump administration really is made up of fantasists, merely further proof that it's not known for its attention to detail. A USDA spokesperson chalked it up to a lack of attention to detail. Over the past few weeks, the Foreign Agricultural Service staff who maintain the tariff tracker have been using test files to ensure that the system is running properly. The Wakanda information should have been removed after testing and has now been taken down. A shame, really, because if it was up any longer, Trump would doubtless claim, as Cabo Phillips tweeted, that he made America so great, even fictitious superhero countries want to do business with us. Let's face it, even the late Stan Lee would have something obvious to say about that.
The Supreme Court have agreed to hear the 3 cases regarding the release of Trump's tax returns. You know, the ones he said he'd release after the election. The hearings will take place in March, and the decision is expected by the end of June, at which point we will learn one of 2 things: the extent of Trump's financial fraud against the US government, or the extent to which Trump's Supreme Court is okay with upholding the flimsiest of legal arguments in order to protect their orange master. Here's hoping Ruth Bader Ginsburg is feeling strong for at least another 6 months.
Oh, God, yeah. Blimey, because that's going to take us into the next
election season.
era.
If they don't rule in Trump's favour, then a lot of interesting information is going to come out just a few months before people are voting.
Right. Okay. We know the Clintons are capable of playing the long game. But here's the ultimate impeachment conspiracy theory. As reported by Brian Karam, the White House correspondent for Playboy, which is a job title to give one pause in itself. Anyway, he tweeted that he'd been told not by The Onion, but by a White House source, that Hillary Clinton purposely lost the election with the aid of Russian hacking so the Democrats could then impeach Trump. So, hats off to Hillary for deciding to not have Trump in the White House, not by winning the election in 2016, but by deliberately taking a dive in order that he would get impeached. On the one hand, isn't this an admission by the Trump administration that the American people wanted Hillary so bad that she had to conspire deliberately with Russia, get Comey to announce the reopening of the email inquiry and do a stage dive at the 9/11 memorial in order to guarantee losing? On the other hand, thank God it got discovered now after 3 years, because them Clintons would have got away with it if it wasn't for them meddling kids. Ruby, Ruby, Roo!
And she didn't even manage to lose the popular vote. So
no, that's right. Yeah,
that's close.
There's a flaw in the argument.
Yeah.
It was that close. She forgot about that bit, obviously. Yeah, or thought, well, actually, that doesn't count for anything, really, given the corrupt voting system that we've got. So I needn't bother covering that one up. So yeah, let's just hold out for the impeachment.
Ivanka attended the Doha Forum in Qatar, a conference for diplomats, policymakers and business leaders to discuss the critical challenges facing our world. Prime ministers, presidents and government officials sat on panels about violent extremism and climate change and weathered hard-hitting interviews with the world's top journalists. Meanwhile, Ivanka was interviewed by her own spokeswoman, former Fox News contributor Morgan Ortagus, who asked her questions like, "You've been in Morocco recently, can you tell us more about the trip and highlights?" Yes, it would have been unfair to treat her like someone who deserves to be there, but there is an alternative. Don't send her to things where other people know what they're doing. Just stay in the White House instead.
Am I the only one who wants to not impeach Trump, but rather section him under the Mental Health Act for getting so incensed that 16-year-old activist Greta Thunberg got Time magazine's Person of the Year award that his team, and I'll read this slowly so it sinks in, photoshopped his face onto her body and made a fake Time cover with him as the winner. This, I think, makes the fourth fake Time cover he has. Glimpses of the others were seen in a televised tour of the White House he conducted early on in his presidency. This is a man in his 70s. He is the president of arguably the most powerful nation on the planet. Well, not so much now, ironically, since he filled the office. And he's that jealous of a schoolgirl that he has his publicly funded publicity team put him on the cover instead of her. And not like all of him in a suit or anything, but just his gnarly, wrinkled arse of an orange-deflated balloon face pasted over her fairly small, hoodie-wearing body. It's just not right, people. Wake up, for Christ's sake. As Greta said, the real danger is when politicians and CEOs are making it look like real action is happening when in fact almost nothing is being done apart from clever accounting and creative PR.
Evangelical magazine Christianity Today has finally had enough and come out with an editorial supporting Trump's impeachment and removal from office. Yes, it's way, way too little and way, way too late, but it's not nothing. Yes, it's weird that it was Ukraine that did it and not mocking disabled people, caging children or raw-dogging porn stars while his third wife nursed their newborn son, but let's be the bigger person and welcome them to the party, even though they've got here just as the host is looking at his watch and standing by the door with coats in his hand hoping the last drunks left will get the hint and leave his fucking house. Trump, naturally, took it very well, tweeting, "A far-left magazine, or very progressive as some would call it, which has been doing poorly and hasn't been involved with the Billy Graham family for many years, Christianity Today, knows nothing about reading a perfect transcript of a routine phone call and would rather have a radical left non-believer who wants to take your religion and your guns than Donald Trump as your president. No president has done more for the evangelical community, and it's not even close. You'll get nothing from those Dems on stage. I won't be reading E.T. again." And yes, he did use the popular shorter version of Christianity Today's name, E.T.
E.T. Yeah. In an election that saw the socialist millionaires in London, who wanted to give their millions away to the poorer regions, get beaten because those people from the poorer regions voted for the Tory billionaires in London to not only keep their money, but take as much as they want from them in future. Because following the Leave campaign's successful Take Back Control in 2016, Boris's Get Brexit Done basically got more likes than Corbyn's for the many, not the few. However, Tory party grandee Michael Heseltine, former Deputy Conservative Prime Minister, told a rally in central London last week that Get Brexit Done is the greatest delusion of them all. A Tory majority simply opens the door to protracted negotiations. Tony Travers, a politics expert at the London School of Economics, said a more honest rendition would be getting Brexit started. We don't know that much more about Brexit than we did before the election, noting they've been impossible to follow debates between politicians on whether there'll be customs checks between Northern Ireland and the rest of Britain. And if people who are really interested in politics can't work out the truth, whether papers are needed to move stuff backwards and forwards between mainland Britain and Northern Ireland, you can see how remote we are from facts. And yesterday I saw a cartoon of Pooh and Piglet as Boris and Dominic Cummings. Pooh says, "How exactly do we get Brexit done?" And Piglet says, "I don't know, I only write the slogans." Well, as we announced last episode, we're now definitely packing our bags for Ukraine. Do pobачення.
So that's all the bad arguments and faulty reasoning we have time for this year. You can find the show notes at fallaciostrump.com, and if you hear Trump say something stupid and want to ask if it's a fallacy, our contact details are on the contact page.
Since it's the end of the year and the decade, we thought we'd give an extra shout to our current patrons who supported us over at patreon.com/ftrump. So a huge thanks to Hugh Randolph, Tankard, Brian Schwimmer, Jude Searles, Neil Kerlog, Neil Upadhyaya, Richard Thunder Hopkins, Keelan Simicevic and Anne McKinley.
And just as huge thanks to Gary Youngling, Lauren Phillips, Miles Robinson, Alan Firth, Cat Commander, Democracy is Zucked, Eric Toffolo, and one patron whose identity I personally promised never to reveal. Thanks so much.
Giuliani, isn't it?
Thanks so much. Your support genuinely really helps us to keep the show going, have a website, and occasionally buy beer.
Not that often.
No, just sometimes. If your New Year's resolution is to support your favourite podcasts, you can head over to patreon.com/ftrump and sign up for as little as $2 to get about 20 hours of exclusive bonus content.
All music is by The Outbursts and was used with permission. So until we see you in 2020 for the next Fallacious Trump, we leave the last word, and it could be his very last word, to the Donald.
That's right. Go home to mommy. Bye. Bye.